This is day 4 of the Gold Cup. Celebration of Concacaf 2007. Carson, California, the Home Depot Center is where we are as the action continues in Group B. Guatemala takes on El Salvador. Welcome to our coverage of the Gold Cup alongside Shep Messing. I'm Steve Cangelosi. A chance for El Salvador to put itself in great position to clinch a berth in the knockout phase of this tournament. Shep, they got down early in their first game versus Trinidad and Tobago. They showed resiliency. They came from behind. This is a program that struggled for the longest time, and with a win today, they could take a big step.
Steve, you're absolutely right, and I think that first game for El Salvador against Trinidad and Tobago, they really played well. Going down a goal, they came back, they were organized, they got forward, they did what it took to win. It's really unbelievable. Second game, possibly with a victory, they could be on their way to knockout play. But Guatemala, I think they're a better team than they showed against the U.S.
Yeah, they're not only looking for their first win, they're looking to score their first goal of the tournament. On their team, they have a goal-scoring machine in Carlos Ruiz, but it was evident against the United States they had problems springing him in that game.
Yeah, they were a little out of sync against the U.S. team. Carlos Ruiz, for much of that game, Steve, was caught up top alone. He didn't get enough support out of the midfield. The spacing between the players when they tried to find Carlos Ruiz, it wasn't good. But Guatemala is a very feisty, competitive team, and I really think they made some tweaks. They looked at the game film from the U.S. They'll try and get Carlos Ruiz more support.
And another thing they have going for them, the knowledge that probably their toughest game in this group is indeed behind them. Coming up today, it is El Salvador. After that, Trinidad and Tobago. If they do get going, there's time to salvage some things in group play, and nobody is out of this thing just yet as we begin the second phase of group play in CONCACAF Gold Cup action. Later on, the United States will take on Trinidad and Tobago to complete the doubleheader on this day 4 of the 2007 Gold Cup at the Home Depot Center in Carson, California. I'm Steve Cangelosi with Shep Messing. The starting lineups, the opening kickoff, all just coming up in just a few moments. Keep it here.
At the Gatorade Sports Science Institute, we test athletes in the lab. Because we know they'll be tested on the field. Gatorade, the most tested sports drink on the planet.
Every now and then there's a storyline that presents itself that no one really anticipated. El Salvador is a nation that squeaked into the Gold Cup, finishing 4th place in the Central American Championships as the host nation. They trailed by a goal early on against Trinidad and Tobago in their first match of this tournament, and today can take a giant step towards the knockout phase of Gold Cup 2007 if they can somehow beat Guatemala today. Welcome again to our coverage of Gold Cup 2007 as Javier Arregui, the referee for today's match, takes the field with his crew as we get set for El Salvador and Guatemala, live from Carson, California, the Home Depot Center. Fans continue to file in for the doubleheader today. With Shep Messing, I'm Steve Cangelosi. This has the makings of a good one, Shep, as we reach the second wave of Gold Cup group play now.
Steve, I'm really excited about this game. You've been talking about what could be the beginning of a Cinderella story for the team in white, El Salvador, but how do they handle success? They're going to find out against the Guatemala team that's going to want to come back from a poor display against the United States team.
Hernan Dario Gomez is the head coach of Guatemala. His team coming off a shutout loss against the United States. Let's get a look at the starting 11 put out by Guatemala. Of course, it begins the attack with Carlos Ruiz up top, but a little bit of a change from the lineup they put out last time around.
Yeah, they did tweak the lineup. Figueroa did not start. He's in the lineup, but it's all about getting support for Carlos Ruiz up top.
El Salvador's starting 11 put out by their head coach, Carlos de los Cobos, Ronald Cerritos, and Juan Campos. That's a change up top. He'll get the nod as a starting forward. Remember, it was Latios, number 16, the last time around. We are underway at the Home Depot Center in white. El Salvador moving from right to left on your screen, and Guatemala in the powder blue. A sunbathed day here in Southern California, just a short drive from Los Angeles. Guatemala shut out by the United States 1-0. That was the final in the first game they played in Group B competition. The United States, the host country, will be at it later on today on this very same field, second part of the doubleheader against Trinidad and Tobago. Getting up on the attack for Guatemala early on, that's Mario Rodriguez, the ex-Columbus Crew midfielder, and Guatemala controls on the far side of the field. Hard challenge in the defensive end for El Salvador. They look to push forward, but it's controlled by the midfielder Noriega. He takes a hard hit and goes down, and we have our first foul call of the match.
Yeah, a couple of heavy collisions early in the game. Not what you want to do in the beginning of a game, Steve. You don't want to dribble into traffic, knock the ball around, play quickly, play first touch. Both teams want to settle their nerves the opening 5 minutes.
Carlos Quinones, number 18, is on the ball. He pushes forward. That foul was called against the hero for El Salvador in that first game, Dennis Alas. He of San Salvador Football Club. Playing it deep on the left side is El Salvador, but it's all gobbled up by Trigueño, who made one mistake in the loss to the United States. The goal by Clint Dempsey, and he didn't have much of a shot. Played by El Salvador now on the far side of the field as they look to push forward. Alicio Quintanilla was very busy in the first game for El Salvador. He's knocked off the ball there.
Yes, Quintanilla will patrol the right side of the midfield, but he'll get forward, always look to cut that ball back to his left foot.
Very active player in that first game that El Salvador played against Trinidad and Tobago. One of the strongest on the field in terms of ball possession. Made his presence felt on the wing. Played on the back line there by Guatemala. Escobar just has to do the safe thing and play that out. Check that. Jose Henriquez, the man who knocked it away.
And again, Steve, I always talk about just settling your nerves. The first 5-10 minutes of a game, be safe, don't make any mistakes. Now El Salvador, Quintanilla trying to get around the corner.
Cabrera, the man marking him. Ball goes out. Corner kick is coming up. This will be the first of the match for El Salvador now.
Yeah, Quintanilla very good on the ball. Gets dragged down as he tries to go towards goal.
Gustavo Cabrera, the team captain, the man who knocked it out. This is lofted, middle of the box, and headed away. Looking to come out with it is Guatemala, but no, it's controlled in the corner. Controlled, left foot shot by Quintanilla. That's knocked away, and the ball does come down finally at the foot of Claudio Albizoris, but he's knocked down on the near side of the field, and we get a whistle. Figueroa trying to push forward for Guatemala.
Yeah, there's a heavy challenge, free kick to Guatemala.
Controlled here, and a long-range shot that just goes high of goal. Cranking it up from long range. And nearly a shot by Carlos Ruiz that finds net.
Yeah, Carlos Ruiz will take a shot from any point on the field. This one he gets under, sails over the crossbar. Goalkeeper Gomez had it covered anyway.
El Pescadito, they call him, the little fish, and clearly the attack for Guatemala begins with that man, number 20. Now they control on the far side of the field. Figueroa tries to push forward. Has it knocked away. Will get a throw-in coming up for Guatemala. Carlos Figueroa, the 26-year-old midfielder, as Chet mentioned at the top, that's the significant change in the lineup going into the second phase of group play. Victor Hugo now is the man who puts it in and gets it back. Victor Hugo Moreno, left foot into the box, headed out. Figueroa lets that go away, and we'll get a Noah throw-in coming up for Guatemala on the near side of the field. Albizoris tosses in. Cerritos now for El Salvador. Ronald Cerritos, prominent goal scorer in Major League Soccer. Pacheco.
Now, Steve, interesting to see Guatemala go with high pressure early in the game. They do not want to allow El Salvador to walk the ball out of the back.
Guatemala looks to control. Noriega's on the ball. Pushing forward. Moving forward, top of the box. It's knocked away. Noriega has it again and plays it across. Settles it down. Cabrera's on the ball now. Cabrera, left side. Chance for Cabrera moving into the box, but then some help defending by El Salvador, and they take control right there. Leonel Guevara came over to help clean up. Escobar for El Salvador now. Off the mark, this will come back the other way.
And Steve, you could see where just a little bit of full field high pressure has forced El Salvador into a couple of unforced turnovers.
Throw in by Cabrera. Knocked high, comes down, battle for it in the midfield. Play is tight in the midfield. It's biked away. Cabrera now off the head, plays this forward. Ruiz making a run. Carlos Ruiz, shot, save! Ruiz a second chance in the box. Save one more time and holding on. Juan Jose Gomez with the stop. Ruiz does not miss that too many times.
Well, the back line of El Salvador right here. You've got to be kidding me. Gomez makes the save one-on-one. The ball's still in play. Gomez, perfect position. He collects it. Two defenders ran into each other. Carlos Ruiz, he's going to bury that 9 out of 10 times.
Escobar, Enriquez came together, the central defenders, and Ruiz nearly giving his team the 1-0 advantage. But still, Guatemala remains scoreless for this tournament. That has to be frustrating considering just how many times he's put the ball in the back of the net in his career.
Yeah, nobody knows it better than Carlos Ruiz that you're one-on-one with the goalkeeper, slot it low. When you get it waist high, you give the goalkeeper the opportunity to make a save. That's Victor Hugo down on the ground for El Salvador.
Victor Hugo Moreno is indeed down. A look of concern from the head coach of El Salvador, Carlos de los Cobos. The former coach at Club America. Get one more look at this exchange and how it happened, and that's it right there. So Hugo remains down. They tend to the left leg for the midfielder from El Salvador. Activity begins to start big time on the bench, and this is serious enough apparently for him at least to get on the stretcher. That's for El Salvador, Jose Orlando Martinez, the 28-year-old midfielder, warming up. We also saw Francisco Alvarez, number 20, perhaps set to get into this game much sooner than we anticipated. El Salvador suffered a very serious injury in the opening game. Remember, it was Carlos Menjivar who came out. Ramon Sanchez came off the bench and wound up playing a very big role in that win over Trinidad and Tobago. On the attack for Guatemala right there, Mario Rodriguez is brought down, and the foul is called against number 18, Escobar.
Yeah, Escobar lined up as a central defender, but he gets outside to make this play. Guatemala looks fired up, Steve. They came out with a little better energy, picked up high on the field, a little bit of full field pressure. Carlos Ruiz, boy, oh boy, 2 golden opportunities to get the first goal of the tournament.
And Guatemala now with a set piece in the attacking territory. Set over the ball, number 12, Carlos Figueroa. We'll see if Ruiz can shake loose. We'll wait for the signal from the referee, Arregui. Scoreless game here at Carson, California. Guatemala, El Salvador. Figueroa strikes it low and cleared out easily by El Salvador. This is all the way back towards the center of the field. Guatemala looks to play it forward. Melgar pushed it. Top of the box, battle for the loose ball, controlled by El Salvador and cleared away by number 5, Enriquez. But a throw-in will come up from the far side of the field. They will wait no longer. The substitution is made, so apparently the injury to Victor Hugo Moreno, serious enough for him to check out very early in the first half, and that's number 23, Jose Orlando Martinez, who did come off the bench in game 1. He'll have a chance to contribute much more today. He'll play the bulk of this match. Whistle blows in the midfield as a foul is called. El Salvador will take possession. That's against Medina, number 5.
Ah, there it is. That's a good angle of the tackle, coming in hard from the left side.
They put Enriquez up with the card, but indeed that was Medina who committed and got the yellow card. Pacheco plays it forward for El Salvador. Moving forward. for El Salvador was Cerritos, knocked down, no foul called. Aguiar was right there and decided not to blow the whistle. Controlled by El Salvador, now in the midfield. Pacheco races up on the near side, plays it for Cerritos. Ronald Cerritos, the 32-year-old striker. Loose in the box, chance for a cross, put in front, shot by Quintanilla, blocked and cleared away. Alessio Quintanilla moved over from the far side. He was in perfect range. Cerritos now looks to keep it alive. Noriega's brought down and a whistle on the play, and now we're going to get another yellow card. That one in the direction of El Salvador's number 17, Dennis Alas.
And referee doesn't want to let this game get out of control. That's a clear trip. That's a good decision by the referee to call that a yellow card offense.
Alas with the game-winning goal in the 81st minute of that first victory over Trinidad and Tobago. Guatemala takes over. They play it near side. Figueroa pushes forward, knocked down at the edge of the box, and the whistle is called, and a free kick opportunity coming up. Figueroa makes something happen.
I thought he tripped over his own feet, Steve, but Figueroa getting wide, attacking, gets the whistle, gets the foul. More importantly for Guatemala, gets a free kick. Let's take a look. I think that's a bogus call. He was trying to flick the ball to himself, but referee says otherwise.
Ramon Sanchez is the man who's called for the foul. And a dangerous strike coming up here. Oh, wasted opportunity. Crossed right into the middle of the box, and easily it was headed out by Enriquez. Still controlled by Guatemala, though. Looking to push forward. Pacheco is able to get on it and clear it back towards the center of the field.
Yeah, look how congested it is, though, Steve, in the center of the field. Guatemala's doing a good job pressuring, but they've got to try and spread the field, play the ball out wide. That way they'll get some seams that they can attack.
Carlos de los Cobos looks on. Trigueño played it. Figueroa now has it for Guatemala. Center of the field, pushing forward. Right side. Figueroa on the run. Stops, marked by Pacheco. Looks to turn around. Carlos Figueroa lays it off. And coming back to defend is Guatemala. Beautiful takeaway to break up the attack. It's knocked out. Quintanilla with the defensive play right there to break it up.
Yeah, good job, though. Good pace to the game. Guatemala pushing the attack. El Salvador staying organized in the back.
Hernan Dario Gomez, head coach of Guatemala. Figueroa seems to be a fine addition so far today. Takes it down low. Looks to cross. Off Pacheco. Corner kick coming up.
Pacheco did a good job one-on-one defending. Had no alternative but to knock it out for the corner.
Lofted in front. Headed. Cleared away. Still loose at the top of the box. Golden opportunity right there for Guatemala. And Juan Jose Gomez never had the chance to make the save there. It was knocked away by one of his defenders. Alas looks to control now. Pacheco lets it loose and just gets it out of harm's way.
Yeah, that's what you do against pressure, Steve. You can't play through it. If you're El Salvador and you win the ball and you're being high pressured, you must switch the point of attack. You must play the ball first time.
Albizores played it forward. Noriega is on the ball now, and he plays it back. We remain scoreless in this match. Group B continuing today. Guatemala in blue versus El Salvador in white. Chance here for Guatemala. Shot from just about 25 yards away is off the mark. That's Rodriguez, number 19, who let it fly.
Yeah, once again, Steve, Guatemala committing to the attack. Good little touch. You know, Gomez will take the goal kick, but that everything was there but the final shot on goal.
Played back. Pacheco now for El Salvador. Deep into the corner. Quintanilla, who took a tumble and back to defend, was Melgar. This will be a goal kick. Trigueño will play it forward.
That's the previous one. Gomez ready to collect it. And that ball cleared before it ever got to him by Martinez.
Far side of the field, controlled by El Salvador, looking to get up into the attack and having much more active game than he did against the United States is Mario Rodriguez, number 19. Throw in from the far side. El Salvador has it in this scoreless match. The El Salvador story potentially is a pretty good one. They went 29 international matches without a victory. All of 2005 and 2006 without a win. They opened the Gold Cup with a big come-from-behind win. There's Cerritos near side, who had it knocked away, but this is El Salvador's ball.
Steve, you talked about that streak, not a good streak for El Salvador, and of course during such a winless streak they had great difficulty creating goals against Trinidad and Tobago. As you mentioned, they gave up the first and came back to get two. Right now they haven't shown much, El Salvador, in terms of anything in attack.
Pacheco toss in, little flick from Quintanilla, ball deflects, trying to get on it. Cerritos knocked away. Number 9 is Juan Alexander Campos, again the addition to the starting lineup today. Guatemala pushes forward. Pablo Melgar is on the ball. One of the few internationals on this Guatemala team. He plays in Chile. Albizuras looks for Figueroa. Pacheco is there to defend. El Salvador looks to take it away. Now they're on the run. Cerritos into open space. Quintanilla has it now. Eliseo Quintanilla with Medina chasing him down. Knocked away. Errant deflection. Cleared away at the last moment by Guatemala. Quintanilla makes it happen. Little bit of a miscommunication there by Guatemala.
Steve, I talked about how you play against pressure. That movement up the ball up the left side of the field was how you do it. Finally, the opportunity goes away, but Quintanilla
lofted into the box by Pacheco, kept alive now by El Salvador. Alas plays it across. Two white jerseys, top of the box, but it's cleared away. Chasing it down now, far side of the field. Guatemala looks to control. Contreras got it back to Cabrera. The captain, Gustavo Cabrera, plays it across, and Pablo Melgar will walk this out. Into the attacking area. El Salvador looks to control now. Played back all the way to the goalkeeper, Gomez. Across to Pacheco. Gomez felt the heat. Nothing on the board yet here at Carson, California.
You mentioned it before, though, Steve. We've talked about how monumental a victory here would be for El Salvador in terms of getting to the quarterfinal stage. But if you're Guatemala, there's also so much to play for. This is their game. They've had their toughest game against the U.S. If they could get a result here, they know they have Trinidad and Tobago in the next game. So this game vital for both teams.
And Trinidad and Tobago did not look good in the aftermath of that loss. Again, Team Chaos, they've been called. So many of their regulars unavailable for this tournament due to all the controversy over the World Cup bonuses last year for that soccer federation. There is hope. Quintanilla is on the ball now for El Salvador. Works on Noriega. Quintanilla fires off the left foot. Couldn't get enough on it, and Trigueño has it on a hop.
Yeah, not a problem for the big goalkeeper. Quintanilla did everything right, except didn't make a good connection on the final left-footed shot.
Ball comes down at the midfield and controlled by Guatemala. They play it long. Figueroa making a run. Comes together with the goalkeeper, Gomez, who goes down. Juan Jose Gomez is down on the pitch. In the vicinity was Enriquez, and the training staff for El Salvador is out now to look at the goalkeeper, Gomez. And more activity on the sidelines due to a potential injury now.
As the ball played over the top, one-on-one situation. Gomez collides with his own man, catches an elbow right in the face. What a collision. I think Gomez got hit in 2 places, in the face with the left elbow of Escobar, but he also jammed his right wrist in the collision. They're attending to him now. Bandage on his chin, the right wrist, arm, hand being worked on. Concern for El Salvador.
That's quite a crowd around him. Teammates, members of the El Salvador contingent, training staff, and this could be a debilitating injury. They won't wait. The substitution will happen. And the next goalkeeper coming in is Dagoberto Portillo Gamero, who will race on and try to give his club a lift as he is brought on in emergency duty in the waning stages of this first half. They go to the backup goalkeeper, and already a second substitution now has been made by El Salvador in the first half, both of them due to injury. So that's the deck of cards that they've been dealt. Let's see how the rest of the match unfolds. A throw in for Guatemala, but that pretty much will wind down the first half of action here at Carson, California, as we get a quick look at Hernan Dario Gomez. We're scoreless at the half. Back in a moment.
Work like a pro. Play like a pro. Tackle tough jobs. Dominate the game. Destroy the competition. Go professional. Choose Makita.
Halftime at the Home Depot Center in Carson, California. It's a good one between Guatemala and El Salvador. Bottom line, nothing on the board just yet. And for Guatemala in particular, Shep, the frustration just continues to build. Carlos Ruiz chances, but nothing to show for it at this point.
It definitely has to be frustrating for Guatemala, Steve, but in the locker room at halftime, they've got to feel they're getting opportunities. They're the more aggressive team. They're getting forward. El Salvador, though, so far, they haven't broken.
No, they'll have a backup goalkeeper to shoot at in the second half. First half highlights, there were several. Let's take a look.
Golden opportunity for Guatemala. Carlos Ruiz in the box. Gomez makes the save. Not over yet. Ruiz turns, goes to goal. Gomez again makes the save and collects it, but it was the collision of the defenders, top of the box, that created that opportunity. 9 out of 10 times, Ruiz puts it away. He gets time and space. This time shoots high of the crossbar. This a dangerous opportunity for Ruiz. A collision in the box. Escobar with his own goalkeeper, Gomez. Watch the left elbow. Gomez is down. He's got to come out of the game.
So Gomez is out of this game for El Salvador. The backup goalkeeper comes on, Dagoberto Portillo Gamero. Shep Messing, maybe you've been in this situation in your career. The injury took place very late in the half, and for the backup, maybe that's a good thing because at least he'll get some significant warm-up time before the second half begins. Am I right?
Steve, I think you're right, but also the nature of goalkeepers, they're nuts. They don't care. They can take the pressure. I think the bigger issue for El Salvador, they need to find a way to orchestrate and mount some kind of attack.
As far as Guatemala goes, they need to do the same. They're in a little bit more desperate situation. They're getting chances for Ruiz. Anything at all they can do to create more chances?
Well, this is almost a must score a goal, 45 minutes for the team from Guatemala. I'd like to see 2 more wide players get into the attack for Guatemala. That will leave some bigger seams for Carlos Ruiz to make his runs.
When we come back, the second half begins and the scoreless game continues here at the Home Depot Center in Carson, California. This is Gold Cup 2007. We'll be right back.
At the Gatorade Sports Science Institute, we test athletes in the lab. Because we know they'll be tested on the field. Gatorade, the most tested sports drink on the planet.
The second half begins at the Home Depot Center. We get the signal, Guatemala and El Salvador. And a substitution at the start for Guatemala as Mario Rodriguez checks out of the game. And Shep, he's replaced by number 11, Avila, who had some pretty good moments against the United States in the first game of this tournament.
Yeah, Stephen, I think the tactical reason is obvious. Avila a little bit better getting into the attacking third of the field. You and I talked at halftime about support for Carlos Ruiz. Avila is a player who could do that.
Cabrera plays this long, and Avila in the game, set for his first touch right here as he works on El Salvador's Lionel Guevara. Some help defending. Is getting back is Martinez, number 23, and a throw-in comes from the near side of the field. Avila wearing the headband to start things off here today. No score, early second half in what for Guatemala is a game that is pretty much must win if they want to advance in this tournament. Little backheel in the direction of Avila. Ruiz sent it to him. Avila brought down at the top of the box. No foul called. Throw-in coming up.
This is a stage in the game, Steve, where if you're a player on either team, you really can't think too much other than let's go win the next 45 minutes.
Cabrera with the toss in now for Guatemala. You got a quick look at Gamero in goal, the substitute goalkeeper for El Salvador. Gomez went down hard with what appeared to be an injury to his wrist. The waning stages of that first half. Crowd continuing to file in here at the Home Depot Center. This is the first of two, the United States and Trinidad and Tobago. Coming up after this, corner kick is coming up here for Guatemala. Here's the strike. Deflected high, and it goes over. And this will be possession for El Salvador. Wasted opportunity for Guatemala, was it? Nope, they're going to call it another corner, Shep. There we go.
Yeah, I thought it was out off a different player as well, but it is off the El Salvador defender. Corner kick from the other side.
We'll stay with the attack here. Outswinger headed by Avila. Save made in front by an El Salvadorian defender. So Portillo Gamero gets some help from his friends on defense. A third corner kick in the last minute coming up, and indeed that was Dennis Alas.
This is the way the first half started. All the pressure being applied by Guatemala.
Figueroa headed down in front. El Salvador trying to get on it, and right there, Gamero holds it. So the substitute goalkeeper is in the game as Cabrera marches back.
Well, again, that ball whipped right about the penalty spot, headed off at the near post. It was Avila with a snap header, and that ball played out by Martinez.
Indeed, Jose Martinez. It appeared it was a loss at first glance, but it happens all so quickly there near the midfield stripe. Avila continuing to push forward. That knocked away by Guevara, who plays it forward. Chase for the ball on the far side of the field. Controlled by Guatemala. Foul called against El Salvador, and the guilty party is number 9, Juan Campos.
When I said before, Steve, that the players really can't think too much rather than just go win the next 45 minutes. You're at a stage in group play where you can't think. If you're El Salvador, we got to win. Maybe it's okay if we get a point, keep this scoreless, but then they face the U.S. in their final game. It's really a must-win victory for Guatemala, but I think El Salvador should feel the same way.
Avila is brought down. Free kick coming up. But no, it goes to El Salvador quickly and back the other way. Noriega tries to play it in the midfield and skies one high. Avila goes up for it. Headed forward by Guatemala. Turnaround shot. Save is made by Gamero.
Well, the tandem, the header ends up at the foot of that man, Carlos Ruiz. He usually does better with that kind of half opportunity.
Gamero Portillo plays it, controlled by El Salvador now. Quintanilla tried to play it.
Yeah, Quintanilla is a player who has not had enough of the ball if you're El Salvador.
Pacheco plays this into the box, had a man on the run, but it's knocked away, and Noriega will head this forward. Avila's on the ball now. Brought down at the midfield stripe, whistle blows, and he forces the foul again. He's had a very effective first few minutes.
He's brought life to this team, getting up and down on the left side of the field. El Salvador, Steve, they seem pretty content to just sit back, Not a lot of pressure by them, not a lot going forward.
Melgar plays it ahead into open space. Guatemala on the move. Quinones tries to get to it. Brought down by Guevara, who pushes forward now for El Salvador and plays it out wide. This remains a scoreless match in Carson. Quintanilla on the ball. Turns around, avoids a defender, plays it into some open space. Wide to the left. Cerritos battles for it, but can't get to it. Check that, number 9, it's Campos. And the ball goes out. Guatemala throwing.
That's another player, Campos, that has not had a lot of the ball. And Steve, when you don't get service, you're a striker, you're Cerritos, you're Campos. I think you got to check back a little deeper in the midfield. Keep the spacing better. Don't just hang up front waiting.
Cabrera playing it across. Melgar is on the ball now for Guatemala. Beautiful day in Southern California. Fans have not been treated to a goal just yet. Into the midfield. Controlled by El Salvador. It's Guevara who played it across. Pacheco is on the ball now. Moving forward. And back the other way it comes. This will be possession for Guatemala. Available on the bench as we get a look for Guatemala. One man in that list, Petsarosi, number 17. He did not get to partner with Ruiz in the last match against the United States. They've played together a lot in the past. That might be an option as we move closer to the finish of this match. Medina. Albizoras played it forward, knocked away, and on the Guatemala back line again. Noriega goes up for it now. Challenge in the midfield. Advantage Guatemala. Avila plays this into open space for an on-rushing Cabrera who overran the ball. Martinez on him. Nice play is made by Escobar to keep it alive. Knocked away. Quintanilla withdrawn and plays it wide to the left. El Salvador on the attack now. Wide to the opposite side of the field. Off the mark for Pacheco.
Yeah, Pacheco couldn't keep that ball in. That was the first time that El Salvador strung together 3 or 4 passes.
Alvarez, Larios, Salazar, Carballo among the players available for El Salvador on the bench. They can only make one more substitution, though. 2 were the result of injury. Cabrera plays it across. Into open space. Laid off on the side for Contreras. Contreras looks to avoid one defender. Fouled on the play, and Guatemala will move forward. They whistle the foul against Martinez, number 23, and a yellow card to boot.
Well, Martinez has had an active game. Saved one off the goal line on a corner. This time he's going to get a yellow card for that effort. Really no chance to get the ball. Comes in clipping from behind.
Jose Martinez came into this game as a substitute due to the early injury that took place to Victor Hugo. Contreras back at it. Ball controlled by Pacheco. Cleared away by Escobar. El Salvador tries to push forward, and now things are getting rough and tumble in the midfield.
I'm surprised that's not a card, and that's what the players, Cerritos among them, are discussing. To me, that's got to be a yellow card if you're going to keep the officiating consistent.
Melgar on the foul. Quintanilla went sprawling.
He got the ball, but then the two-legged scissor from behind. Just because you get the ball doesn't mean you don't foul.
Possession for El Salvador now, just over the midfield stripe. Scoreless game. The tension builds. El Salvador on the ball now. Quintanilla waiting for it on the near side, had it knocked away. Melgar played it out. This is a throw-in coming up and set to go to his bench once again. The Guatemala head coach, Dario Gomez. Petsarosi seems poised to check in. cleared out by Medina. Whistle blows, looking to get it for Carlos Ruiz, but this will be possession for El Salvador now. Lionel Guevara on the ball for El Salvador with the toss in. That's off. Guatemala will do it again.
For all the scrappy play we've had in the middle of the field, really it was only the 2 quality shots in the first half where the Gomez made 2 big saves. Other than that, not too many good opportunities on goal.
Substitution made now for Guatemala. Figueroa, who played well, comes out, and he'll be the man who checks out in favor of Dwight Petsarosi, the 27-year-old striker who has experience with Ruiz in the past. See if it makes a difference. El Salvador now.
Well, right now the tempo is swung back to El Salvador. This is about the best they've done in terms of possession all game.
Lionel Guevara plays this forward, looking for Quintanilla, just off the mark. Scramble in the midfield for a loose ball. Quinones tries to get at it. Instead, El Salvador gobbles it up and looks to push forward. Martinez played it outside. They go over the top in the direction of Quintanilla. Ball knocked down, but Cabrera is back, retreating well. Let's see if Guatemala clears it away. Dangerous at the top of the box, but on a second chance, they get to it. And Albizores was there to knock it away. Claudio Albizores, the 25-year-old defender, kicking it out of harm's way, and he's down.
Yeah, for the first time all game, high pressure by El Salvador. There's the collision, top of the box. Melgar got the worst of it, seems okay, jogging around.
Quintanilla now, near side. Works it for El Salvador, tries to split 2 defenders and does. Alicio Quintanilla drive just over the crossbar. And we haven't had many of those moments leading up to this point.
Yes, perhaps the best moment for El Salvador. Rips that shot with the left foot. He had bodies, players, teammates right there in the 6-yard box. They wanted the ball, but you can't fault Quintanilla. Slams that ball over the crossbar.
He spent 2 years playing professionally in this country with DC United. He had 5 goals in those 2 seasons. Really in a part-time role as well. Pacheco plays it forward. Albizores to Noriega. Noriega tries to throw it on the far side. So Petsarosi for Figueroa. And we play on at the Home Depot Center in this scoreless match in Carson. El Salvador moves forward. Pablo Melgar moves back. Pacheco will lay it down. Free kick, El Salvador. Carlos de los Cobos looks on. Trigueño. And from long range, a chip towards goal. Swatted away with one hand by Trigueño.
Yeah, Trigueño takes no chances. Wasn't sure he could hang on, so comes out, makes an early decision. I thought he misplayed it, but he does the right thing by fisting it out and wide.
Throw in El Salvador, near side. Knocked out by Guatemala. Throw in will come up again. Lionel Guevara on the sideline to toss in.
Much of this game, Steve, was dominated by Guatemala, but the last 5-10 minutes, El Salvador has found a rhythm going forward.
Much needed victory for Guatemala, as we've been mentioning, after the loss in Game 1 against the United States. El Salvador trying to shock the group and go 2-0. And a win would put them at the top of the table in Group B.
Yeah, it almost seems for El Salvador, Steve, they weathered the storm for much of the game, and now they're trying to get forward, find a way to create a goal.
Quintanilla. Corner kick punched out by Trigueño. Here's a drive from long range, but that goes high and wide of goal. Cabrera stepping up. Played by Guatemala now. Foul called on the far side of the field as Albizores was moving forward. Campos brought him down.
Well, Campos has not gotten a lot of the ball going forward, but he does a good job tracking back.
Quickly now, moving forward, El Salvador. They play it into open space. Cerritos gets it back. Dennis Salas, the hero of game one, lays it off. Martinez crosses in front. They get a head on it, but it's hit errantly on the side, and Guatemala now with room to break out as Contreras plays it forward for Carlos Ruiz. He's brought down hard on the midfield by Alas, and a whistle blows.
Well, usually it's Carlos Ruiz initiating contact. Here he gets a little bit of his own medicine, gets whacked from behind, and then Alas comes in from the other side.
Hard foul. Guatemala pushing forward still. Played deep in the El Salvador zone. Guevara was back to try to handle it. This one is skied high, but still in the box. Loose ball, shot, goal! Contreras fired it. It might have been touched by Ruiz. Jose Contreras takes advantage of a miscue by El Salvador, and Guatemala has its first goal of this Gold Cup.
What a great time to get a goal. Here's where the trouble started. Nobody under pressure. Enriquez tries to clear it out with a bicycle. There's Contreras, drills it to the left side of the goal. I thought Camaro got a hand on it, maybe a touch, but oh boy, what a great time for Guatemala to strike.
Well, the ball certainly didn't hit Ruiz, but it almost was if he provided a little bit of a screen on the goal to not give Portillo Gamero a good shot at seeing it. Clear line of sight. 1-0. Guatemala plays with a lead. Campos now, hounded by Avila on the far side of the field. Loose ball controlled by Guatemala now. The goal by Contreras in the 69th minute of play. Noriega now over the top. Controlled on the back line by Guevara. All the way across. Deep into the attacking zone. Quintanilla tries to chase it down for El Salvador, but he can't get to it. Foul is called. This will be possession for Guatemala.
And Steve, if you're El Salvador right now, this moment in this game, you've got to throw players forward and find a way to get a goal. Let's take another look. There's the strike. You're right. There are a lot of bodies, Steve, between the shot by Contreras and the goalkeeper, Gamero. But right now, if you're El Salvador, you might as well gamble, because if Guatemala gets the victory, they'll have one win. El Salvador will have one. But hey, guess what? El Salvador's next game is the USA. Guatemala, the next game, Trinidad.
Free kick coming up for Guatemala as they try to add to this lead. Enriquez with the big mistake that led to the goal. The wall forms in front of Portillo Gamero. Contreras was having a rather quiet game until the big strike that makes all the difference here. Set piece coming up. Let's see who takes it. It is Contreras going straight for goal off the post. Off woodwork. Ball still in play and kicked out. He almost had his second.
That's a beautiful free kick. Look at him bend it around the wall. Gonna hit right at the upper 90 where the crossbar meets the post. I thought he really got way too far under it, but it has plenty of dip. Hits the right post. Gamero, welcome to the game.
Substitution on the bench. Cerritos is done, and again they do not get much out of Ronald Cerritos. And number 20, Francisco Alvarez, checks into the game now for El Salvador. Alvarez, the 24-year-old midfielder, plays for club team Alianza in El Salvador. Every player on the El Salvador team plays for a club team in that nation. Cabrera brings this down now for Guatemala.
Well, I like this effort now by Guatemala. They're not sitting back. They're carrying the momentum. They got the all-important goal in this game, the first goal for Guatemala in this Gold Cup. But doing the right thing, I think, by not sitting back. They should continue to press.
Cabrera set for the toss-in. The captain looks to move it forward. Again, activity on the sidelines, and another substitution is set to be made. Guatemala will go to the bench. Carlos Ruiz, it appears, is done for the match. He played a role in the goal. He did not score it. Number 27 is Jairo Areola, the 21-year-old striker who checks in and will look to finish business as he comes into the game in the 80th minute of play.
Well, there's one job he's instructed to do. Hey, if you get a goal, terrific, but work hard on the defensive side of the ball, track back, do everything he can to protect this lead.
Really, Petsarosi, the lone striker, although Avila has seen a lot of the ball up top. There's Contreras all of a sudden, who has a nose for the goal. That shot deflected high and wide.
How about that? He really had a quiet game, Steve. Then the all-important goal. Get a look at Carlos Ruiz. Then Contreras struck the post on the free kick.
Ruiz has played a lot of soccer in the last 48 hours. On the run for El Salvador. That's Alvarez brought down. They'll get a toss-in the attacking area now. Foul is called against Cabrera. Dennis Salas off a free kick. This one is skied high. Comes down in the middle of three Guatemala players and finally cleared away. Everybody was staring for a moment. That is all. Time has expired. Guatemala has its first win of the Gold Cup. We're back with a wrap in a moment.
Work like a pro. Play like a pro. Tackle tough jobs. Dominate the game. Destroy the competition. Go professional. Choose Makita.
Welcome back to our coverage of Gold Cup 2007. First game of day 4 is in the books, and Guatemala simply has played itself back into this tournament. A 1-0 victory over El Salvador, and now that second berth perhaps in Group B can really go anywhere, Shep Messing.
Well, I think if you're Guatemala, you're really under pressure, got the goal when they really needed it. Now second spot up for grabs.
Well, Carlos Ruiz still looking for his first goal, but he did play a role in the one goal that we did see in this match. Let's take a look at first half highlights.
First half highlights, Carlos Ruiz, the instep drive with the right foot, smacks it over the crossbar.
Guatemala's all-time leading scorer had more than one chance. This was an interesting one, Shep.
Splits, two defenders who collided. He's going to get another opportunity. Great goalkeeping by Gomez. Comes out, cuts down the angle. There's the collision in the central part of the defense. 9 out of 10 times, Ruiz buries that.
Escobar and Pacheco came together, and they would lose their starting goalkeeper, El Salvador, late in the half. That's Gomez who goes down.
Yeah, tough collision. But we're on to the second half. Finally, El Salvador, Quintanilla with the left foot. Golden opportunity, gets under it, drives it over.
Here's the goal. Contreras brings it down and sends it home. And Shep, this is all the result of a defensive error.
Yeah, there's the clearance, or the poor clearance, the header, and Contreras takes it out of the air with the right foot. That's a great goal through a body of players.
The ice was broken in the 69th minute of play, and Guatemala knew it was on to something special. Contreras nearly had another. Jose Contreras putting one off woodwork, came close to a second goal. Carlos Ruiz providing that screen of sorts that got in the way of Portillo Gamero, and 1-0 is the end result in this game. So for El Salvador, never really got going offensively, and one guy who seemed invisible these first two games is Ronald Cerrito, Shep.
Well, there's no question for El Salvador, Steve. I think they were under pressure for most of this game. They had a good 10-minute stretch in the second half. No quality shots on goal, and I really give credit to this Guatemalan team. They got beat up and beaten by the United States team. They were desperate to get a goal. They absolutely needed a victory, and they got it.
Well, they're missing the injured Freddie Thompson, one of the best players to give service to Carlos Ruiz, but they have their victory, and now this can go either way. That's a wrap for Game 1 from the Hope Depot Center in Carson, California. On Day 4 of competition, Guatemala checks into the win column. For Shep Messing, I'm Steve Cangelosi.